Leica M11, one of the best travel and street photography cameras that has honestly ever existed in the digital world. And this is the Ricoh GR III HDF. It is really small and compact, even more so obviously than something like an X100 VI. And so here are the reasons why I think these two cameras specifically pair so darn well together. So the GR3 has a 28mm equivalent focal length on it, which I think pairs obviously really well for those kind of like everyday snapshot, street photography kind of things. You look at guys like Gary Winogrand and his work on a 28mm, and you can see why that works really well. It is an APS-C camera with a 2.8 aperture, so you're not going to get a ton of depth of field, but you can get some in this. But most of the time when people are doing street photography, they're shooting anywhere between f5.6, f8, f11. So not having a ton of depth of field is sometimes more of a help than a hindrance, especially in this particular kind of use case. And I think the reason that this pairs so well, in particular with something like the M, is that yes, I love shooting my M at 28mm, at 35. I think those are some of my favorite focal lengths. But when you're out and you don't want to do a lot of lens swapping, to be able to just like pull up a 50 and a 28 in a relatively small package works pretty well. I think the other thing is that 28mm really kind of feels like the perfect like snapshot style camera. And so especially when I'm just walking around the city and I see something nice or see something that's interesting, just pull this out of a literal pocket. I think that's the thing that a lot of people kind of have this idea that the X100 VI is like the best kind of pairing for something like this. But really these two, one on each side, are kind of what like the X100 VI is trying to be the middle ground of, with its hybrid viewfinder and all those kind of things. And so when I'm carrying my M, it's incredibly rare that I'm carrying like an X100 VI. And if I'm carrying the X100 VI, I'm also not carrying the Ricoh. Almost always, if I'm using the X100 VI, it's the only camera I'm carrying, and it's often fairly similar to the M, but the M, oftentimes I'm bringing either like the 907X, but I feel like this is really the play for the vast majority of people that do M stuff, because it's different, the whole feeling is different, and this is the most like film point and shoot type of thing that I've ever felt in a digital camera, especially adding this tiny little viewfinder here. I know that Ricoh makes one that is much nicer than this, but this is one I found on Amazon. It's just a standard 28mm viewfinder. It's not great. It's not that useful. And even when I pull it up to my eye, like I have to refocus my eyes a little bit to get it to work. But I will say that it does just feel so much more like a film point and shoot. And when I'm shooting film, I think my favorite things are to shoot the M6 in one hand and the like Class W in the other hand. So this is kind of the most film-like setup that I use that still is digital. I think one of the other nice parts too is I can just put this on a little wrist strap, and I would like a little cinch, that'd be nice, but I can just walk around, photograph the things I need to on this. If I want, pull this up, grab a photo. Kind of makes it pretty easy without needing to actually worry about stuff. So kind of just keep this in the hand, and then if you need to drop it down to take a photo with the M, it can dangle on my wrist without any real issue. Now, they're obviously going to be wildly different in terms of performance and all those things. I don't even know what the megapixel count on this is, but it's like in the 20s. The M11 is in like the 60s, so you're not going to be getting like the full same amount of image quality and resolution, everything like that. But when I'm thinking about street photography and little travel things and whatnot, like I'm thinking of it more in the same way that I would think of the way I shoot film. And I don't need a point and shoot camera, which this definitely still is. Very capable tool, but still a point and shoot camera in my opinion. I don't need that to be incredibly high resolution in the same way that I'm expecting an $8,000-9,000 tool like this to do in a tool that costs around $1,000. The other thing is just the fact that these focal lengths pair so well together. So a 28 paired with like a 40 or a 50 millimeter, for me, especially like a 50 mil, gives such a good, I guess, complementary field of view change between the two. At 28, you're not getting super wide, but you're getting a little bit wider than a normal focal length. And then at 50, you can cover quite a bit of ground in terms of getting a little bit of background separation, a little bit of compression. And then again, especially with these little combos with either like this little Eureka that is collapsible and super lightweight, or even that Summicron C that's a 40 mil, both f2, really, really small and compact, and both relatively affordable, makes a pretty good combo. So ultimately, because of its size, the fact that it really just pairs a lot differently than a lot of the other things with the M, I think that's why these are just such a good pairing. Obviously, I can take the M out and shoot a 28 Summicron and it'd be an amazing combo. But if I want to have quick access to two different focal lengths when I'm just walking around taking photos, this is a really hard combination to beat, both because of its overall image quality, but also just because of the experience you get by using both of these cameras. I wouldn't say that this is elite by any means, but the quick snapshotable kind of stuff you can get out of this, and even paired with like a janky kind of viewfinder like this, I personally like putting a camera up to my face. So having the ability to either shoot it like this and kind of like shoot from the hip, but also to be able to put it up to my face and use something like this, even though this viewfinder in particular isn't amazing, definitely better than nothing. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you have a better combination. But I think honestly, for a lot of years, I was kind of messing around with the Fujifilm stuff, which again is fantastic. But I think when talking about directly pairing with an M in a lightweight travel kind of setup, it's really hard to beat this combo. So anyway, if you're interested, check out my video that I did on the GRs up here. Check out my original video on why I bought the M11 up here, and I will see you in one of those videos.